Hi creators, welcome or welcome back to Academic Phoenix Plus. My name is Monica and I am your guide through ZBrush. In this video tutorial, we're going to continue working on this battle ready axe using the powerful software ZBrush. If you're new to this channel, I post tutorials on a weekly basis. Software includes Maya, ZBrush, Substance Painter, and so much more. So if that is your sort of thing, please consider subscribing. So bring out that creativity, open up that software, and let's go ahead and get started in detailing this battle ready axe using ZBrush.
All right, what if I wanted to add a skull? What if I wanted to bring in something that I don't have in ZBrush? What we talked about before was we have an append and we have all of these things, but what if I actually want to bring something else? One of the downloads that we had was a OBJ, which is a 3D object, a skull. You can actually import objects that you can download as long as they're OBJs or FBXs. But the only way that's going to work is if we append an object and then replace it, right? So the first thing we need to do is append. So I'm just going to grab like a random, I don't know what this is, but I'll take it. And I'm going to press W and make sure you've got the right object selected. I'm just going to place it basically around here. And I'm not too worried about it because I'm going to replace it. What we're going to do is click on import. So I'm going to grab a skull. Would you like to remove? Sure. And you'll notice that A, it's humongous, but B, that shape that I had is gone. And the reason why is because the skull has now replaced that object that I appended. So that's how you import things into this object, is that whatever you have selected will be replaced by it. So you click on import and you bring it in. Now I'm going to press F and you're going to see that it's this ginormous skull. I'm going to press R and I'm going to start scaling it down because it's actually humongous in comparison to my sculpt. So I'm going to hit F. And you'll notice that I still don't see my axe. There's my axe. So my axe is actually pretty small. Hit F again. And here is my skull. All right. Let me zoom out here. And I want to make sure I see this box here, my block. And what I'm going to do is kind of press it in here. But in general, this is not really what, I don't want just a skull sticking out of it. I want to make it look like it's a relief. So I'm going to scale it flat on one direction, and then I'm going to press it in. So it's going to look like it belongs. So the idea is that it's basically been sculpted inside this object. Now, if I went too far, I can always bring it out a little bit. And then I am going to rotate it slightly so it's sticking out like that. So now it looks like we have a skull sticking out of it, which is nice because modeling a skull would be really hard. But I just downloaded this for free in TurboSquid. It's royalty free. And I'm just like, this is great. This is going to be super easy. Now, I'm not a fan of all of this jankiness that it has. So I'm going to go back into Draw. And under Geometry, I am going to divide. So again, make sure you have your skull selected. Click on Divide. And now I have a smoother skull. Now you can hit Shift and kind of smooth it out if you guys want to, so it looks a little bit more stylized. In general, I'm actually pretty happy with it. All right, something like that. Now, we can do that again, or we can just duplicate this. So what I'm going to do is grab my skull, and we have a duplicate, which now we have skull 2. So again, make sure you have the one selected, press W, and let's move it. It's right over there. Let's go ahead and rotate it. And press it in. Looks like I moved a little bit, but that's okay. I can just go ahead and place it. And maybe rotate it a little bit. So really quickly, we now have a really great design on our object. All right, so I'm going to go back to this and just add a little bit of texture to it. So I'm going to select this. I have my trim dynamic. And what's nice about the trim dynamic is that if I just kind of press against it, it just kind of adds little dents and stuff like that to it, which makes it look like it's metallic, which I personally love. It just looks like it's been beaten and shaped according to whatever this, what it is. So that kind of adds a nice little design to it. And of course, we can use the damp standard and again, make a small draw size and just kind of scratch it. Now you can see that it's not very deep. You can increase your intensity. And don't forget that I have symmetry on, so it might be a good idea to turn that off. Click on X and just kind of draw some scratches. Same thing for this box. You can just kind of quickly create some scratches to it, so it looks like you've seen better days. Now again, symmetry got activated, so turn off X really fast so you can just kind of get rid of it. And then you can draw some quick designs. So fairly quickly, we can create some really interesting looking designs for our objects. So I have my box selected. Under transform, we have something called radial symmetry. And what that means is that I can actually, and you can almost see it in the graphic here, that you can actually duplicate things based on rotation. So the issue though is that the pivot point is over here and I want to focus here. We can use local symmetry, which will focus the symmetry here. So if I draw with my damp standard, you can see that it creates this really cool looking design because I have this radial thing on. So what I want to do though is not use radial. What I want to use is a standard brush. I'm going to grab just a regular, kind of like an alpha 13, something small. And I'm going to grab it and use the rectangle. Whoop. Right? It's not very strong, so let me increase my intensity. And you can see that the quality is not so good. So that means I need to divide. I'm going to go ahead and divide. I'm now at 519, so keep an eye on that. And again, I can just kind of go in and add some design. So using the radial is actually pretty cool because you get some really neat effects. And I forgot to do it on the other side, so I'll just go ahead and do it here too. Something like that. All right, cool. Let's work on the axe some more. All right, we're going to go back into the axe. We're going to mask some designs. So what I'm going to do is mask. And again, I'm just going to kind of quickly create a very simple design. And I'm glad it's on the other side. That's important. Hello, kitty. All right, something like that. Looks okay. So let's sharpen it. Control Alt, click on the actual axe itself. Reverse it. And what I'm going to do is do an inflate, which I'm just going to bring in just a tiny bit. Nothing major, just a tiny bit. Let me inverse it again. And like we did before, I'm going to grab that trim dynamic and just kind of make it a little larger and just kind of go in and try to dent it a little bit. So again, this just kind of gives it a little bit of extra texture to it that we may be missing in the axe. So again, I'm just trying to make it look like it's seen better days, that it's actually used, that this is medieval and it's not like for the king or queen. It's more like for, you know, something a little bit more savage. You can bring it to damp standard and just kind of make it smaller and add some scratches, but let's get rid of that symmetry because it should have a unique design to it. And you can also use the pinch tool to pinch some of the edges. So for example, I might want to just pinch this a little bit here, just to make it feel like the edges are not completely even. Something like that. All right, something like. Let's reverse that. And I'm going to show you guys how to do a really simple design using a damp standard. So like I mentioned before, click on B, which brings up the brush. D stands for damp standard. And as in average, you get kind of like this look. We can draw smaller, something like, and you guys can create your own design. So this is going to be a very interesting looking axe because I can actually create floral designs and skulls. So it depends what technique you're trying to go for, but the idea is that you can actually create that. Now, unfortunately, I did not click on X. So let me undo this because I do want the same design to be on the other side. So click on X, which will turn on symmetry. And another thing you might want to do is instead of indenting it inward, we're going to actually hold on Alt to bring it outward. So that kind of gives you a little bit more of it looks like it's been engraved. Now I can hold Alt for my heart's content, but notice that this is Z sub, which is below. This is Z add. So if I do that, then I don't have to hold down Alt. And now I can go ahead and kind of design my own little floral elements. Very easily with the damp standard, we could create some really nice, cool looking graphics. Does it make sense with the skull? Maybe not so much. Does it make sense for this exercise? It sure does. So this designer is clearly somebody that doesn't like humans but loves florals. So there you go. That's who the client is when we designed this axe. But the whole point of this exercise is to basically just show you guys how we can use different types of designs or different types of tools to get different looks. Must be a druid. It's funny. All right, so now that we have that, we can go ahead and let go. And I'm not a big fan of this sharp edge here, so we can use high polish to try to kind of keep that edge, but also clean it up a little bit. So I'm just going to go in with high polish, maybe zoom in a little bit and just kind of go in and try to, or you can just, actually it might be better to just hit S and just smooth it out a little bit. That's going to help with the transition. All right, let's see what we have so far. We definitely have a cool looking act, lots of skulls. Let's add a little hat there. So again, we're going to choose a pen. We have a kind of like a cone here. Make sure you have that cone selected. So you need to scroll down to select it. There it is. Press W to move it. And just like anything else, let's go ahead and scale it. Crush it, maybe make it longer and flatter so it fits our axe. So there's a little setting here, the little gear, and sometimes there's little things that you can play with to kind of move it around. So for example, there's offset and you can kind of press it, click on these little things to see if there's anything you could do with it. But I didn't think much of it, so I just went back to Gizmo 3D, which is what I really want. So now that we have this, we can go ahead and press Q to go back into draw. We can divide a couple times and then we can add our details. So that's up to you which one you want to choose. It can be the trim dynamic. So we can make it kind of large and just kind of go in and flatten it a little bit. Again, you can use the Dan standard. Reduce the size and just kind of give it a couple of scratches. This is an add, grab zub, so it actually scratches in there. Let me make it smaller. And it's kind of pixely. So that means I need to divide. And now I can get some better edges. Ooh, it's coming along. It's kind of fun. ZBrush is fun, everybody. Let's see. I'm missing this little piece right here. There's a variety of ways we can do this. We could do the same thing like we did with the axe, which is bring in a plane. We could also bring a box, but I think I'm going to use a plane. So let's go ahead and do the same thing. That's basically my last piece. Here's my plane. Make sure you grab the plane. I'm going to scale it down. Again, I'm going to be using this as just a reference point. So let me divide a couple of times, but don't go too crazy. If I divide 700, should be good. And let's make this brush size smaller. Control. And I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing that we did with the other one. Now you can see that the other pieces are getting in the way. So you can actually go in and hide them. So if you want to hide, just click on the eyeballs. There we go. Make sure you have this selected and go ahead and quickly paint this in. Ooh, that's tiny. Okay, let's kind of clean this up a little bit. Make sure I add the elements that I need, subtract anything that I don't need. Can make this a little sharper. And make the top a little sharper. I'm not too worried about this section here, but I can make a selection like that. All right, hold down Control Alt, click, click, click. All right, we're going to do the same thing we did before, which is extract. Down here at the bottom, we have extract. I'm going to change it to 0.07. Rotate my camera slightly. Extract. Whoops, did I meant to say 0.07? I meant to say well, actually, I did say 0.07, but I think I typed in wow, that's a lot. Okay, let's not do that and do 0.007. I'll take that. Click accept. So now we have two. We can get rid of that one. And just like we did before, I am going to Dynamesh this first. Let's go to Dynamesh, increase that resolution to about 300. Click on Dynamesh. So now the model should be pretty even all the way across, and I can hold down Shift to smooth it out. Don't forget to unmask. And honestly, I should have unmasked before I Dynameshed, because when you have something selected, it thinks that you're only trying to Dynamesh that. So I'm going to click on Dynamesh again. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. All right, let's go ahead and smooth this out. Press F to focus. Might make this a little thicker. Make sure you have the right one selected. Where is my gizmo? Where are you going? There it is. Oh, well, that's weird. Okay. So you'll notice that the pivot point's over here. We could try moving the pivot point by removing this. And hopefully the pivot point will go back to its location, but it hasn't. So, let's see. Let me zoom out here. You can unlock this and click on one of these. There we go. One of these usually snaps it back. So that's what I just did, and then lock it back. So the reason why is because I want to make this thicker. Okay. We can start bringing back the pieces just to make sure everything's looking okay. I might have to press this in here. There you go. And just like we did before, we can mask it out. So let's go ahead and grab a nice draw size. We're going to create that blade, make sure that symmetry is working. Let's turn off that and try again. Make sure the center is selected. So just like anything else, it just takes a little bit of practice, right? And the whole point of these exercises is to get you guys practicing on masking, practicing on extracting, practicing all the tools so that you guys can get comfortable with them. So give yourself time to practice. Make that sharper, reverse. Let's grab the trim dynamic. And I'm going to hit those edges so I can get it pushed in. Once you have that, grab the polished one so you can make it nice and sharp. There we go. It preserves that edge. And then, of course, you can use pinch to just bring it even sharper still. There we go. Let's go ahead and go back to drawing. Sometimes it's just easier to click BT to get the trim dynamic indented a little bit. So I'm going to go in and just kind of dent it. Don't forget to use a damp standard to give yourself a couple of scratches. Maybe smaller still. And I turned off symmetry so it doesn't look the same on all sides. All right. I'm going to grab the pinch tool just because I'm not a fan of this dent. Pinch, pinch, pinch. Gonna just make it smaller. And that is how you design an axe based on the reference. So that's how you create your weapon. Let's go ahead and do a PBR, which is going to render this out for me. And then we can go ahead and let's see. Render. We already have the PBR. Let's zoom in actually and get the details. Like, why spend all that time on the details if we're going to see the whole thing? So kind of get close up. Again, you can click on PBR, which will render it with shadows. There you go. We can go up to Document, Export. This is going to be Axe 2. Okay, there it is.
Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. If you did, please like and subscribe. That is your message to me, letting me know that you like this content and that you want to see more. Please share my videos. If you know of an artist struggling with ZBrush or would like to learn how to build an axe using ZBrush, please share my videos. That would be amazing. And also take a look at academicphoenixplus.com. There you'll find free tutorials, free 3D models, ebooks, and so much more. So take a look at academicphoenixplus.com. Again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Keep creating, and I will see you next time in the next video tutorial.